let's move on now to the Baltimore Ravens and our AFC North free agency recap series. But before we do that, if you have not already, hit that subscribe button and also ring that bell so you can get notified when we create new content. Ryan and I, we've been producing a lot more content this year, and we've been growing our community. We just hit 1,000 subscribers, and we're looking to maybe get to 2,000 by the NFL draft. If not, hopefully for sure by the start of the new season. We are very grateful for everyone that's joined on and joined our growing community. And Ryan, let's get into it. The Ravens have not been in the sports media news at all this entire offseason. Nothing's been going on with the Ravens or any major decisions that they have to make at all. And so, I'm obviously saying that facetiously as we are recording this Sunday, April 9th. And news just dropped about obviously a star receiver that they had. And maybe hopefully that this means that they're franchise QB will want to stay with them and maybe will re-sign with them. But let's get to that discussion here at the latter half. Let's quickly just kind of go over mainly really honestly kind of who their key losses are, because everything additional wise is we already mentioned with them signing OBJ, and they signed one other person maybe of note, but I think their losses actually are kind of significant. So
I was going to make that same note where they're the kind of losses that I feel like people don't really notice until the season actually starts.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So it's like let me pull this up. Like Ben Powers, their left guard, has moved on now to the Broncos, and I for a run heavy team like Baltimore, losing an offensive lineman who played every single snap of yours, who's one of the better left guards in the league, that's kind of a tough loss, and he's kind of in the prime of his career. But that's the sacrifice I think that they had to make so then they can sign OBJ, try and keep Lamar Jackson. But I think that's actually pretty significant loss. Well, I have kind of had to see who steps up and what route they go. But what are some of their other losses that
Marcus Peters is not going to be re-signed. He was an unrestricted free agent, and it does not look like they're bringing him back. And then Josh Oliver, the tight end, is not coming back. He signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Calais Campbell, probably the biggest leader presence in that locker room outside of Lamar Jackson, left for Atlanta. Chuck Clark left for New York. And then also their center, Tristan Castillo, left for the New York Jets. So that interior offensive line definitely needs to be replenished. And I think kind of a little foreshadowing when we get into the draft segment of this video, I think that could be something that they definitely address, if not in the first round, in this. Well, they don't have a second, but in a third for sure.
Yeah. So we'll say the one thing with Tristan, Tyler Linderbaum was their center. So Tristan, that interior depth for sure is a note. One thing to notice as well, also Justin Houston, I do not see that he has been re-signed, and he is 34. I don't believe that they are intending on re-signing him either.
No, it does not look like it.
So that is several pieces now on the interior side of the ball, on both sides of the ball, where they lost Ben Powers, now Calais Campbell, and also Justin Houston. Justin Houston had 9.5 sacks as well. He was the sack leader, and Calais Campbell had 5.5. So let me see. Also, it does not look like Jason Pierre-Paul has been re-signed. This is all according to Over the Cap as well. And those are three of your top 4 sack leaders right there. So very curious on kind of which route they go. It actually kind of almost makes me think a little bit differently as we get to the draft segment here. And we'll speak about that here shortly. But let's talk about, obviously, their additions and quickly just get out of the way. They have signed Nelson Aguilar to a 1-year contract to help him.
Probably their biggest wide receiver signing of the season.
Absolutely. Biggest signing of the season. Obviously going to be the most memorable receiver in the 2023 Baltimore Ravens class.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're joking. Odell Beckham Jr. I'm very curious what this excites me a little bit, because if OBJ can, because if he can be the guy that we saw on the Rams team and how quick he was, how elusive he was, it's like no one could guard him. That team was amazing with him. They almost lost the Super Bowl once when he went down, because they're like, okay, we're just going to throw everybody on Cooper Kupp and then like try and beat us with Tyler Higbee like that. It's like, and that's how great of an addition he was to him. Now, Cooper Kupp was also there as well. So it was a great 1-2 receiver tandem that they both fed off one another. But Lamar Jackson brings so much attention. This running game brings so much attention. If Rashad Bateman can be the guy that we all think he can be, if OBJ is healthy and he's had a whole year to prep and get that knee back and he's the same guy that he was, I think that they can turn some heads this year. And that also, the other big elephant in the room, Lamar Jackson has to want to play with them again.
Yeah.
And so, but I like this signing a lot.
It looks like Lamar Jackson wants to come back now. I know that there was some speculation, but I think at the worst he plays on that franchise tag that they that they put him on. So I like the OBJ signing. I think he's 31 now, and he hasn't had a lot of miles on him actually, because he's had a fair bit of injuries, and so I still think he actually has some of that twitch that he's had in the past. So will he be the 24-year-old version? I don't think so, but I actually think he could be pretty solid for them this year. And yeah, I like it. Nelson Aguilar, I think, is also another good addition. He will play mostly in the slot, whereas Rashad Bateman will be on kind of the outside, then Odell Beckham will be on the other side. But I like it. It's going to really open up these boxes for Lamar Jackson and Cast, because they now have legitimate weapons and they can beat you over the top in multiple different spots.
Well, and you knew who I think statistically who I think that this benefits the most. I think he's going to be Mark Andrews. He was already their number one receiver, but now it's like safeties could come up because, like, hey, no one can really beat us deep. They don't have any other legitimate receiver weapons. And now then you look at this trio of receivers. You're like, okay, yeah, they can absolutely a play action pass, which is very possible in this Baltimore Ravens offense. That these guys can beat me deep. So now we got to play deep. And so then now it's going to open up that middle of the field, and that's where Mark Andrews feasts. And I think that everyone is going to, I think, have the opportunity to be successful here. And so it is optimistic to think about their future. But it all depends really on Lamar Jackson coming back. I think that this would be everyone knows how good OBJ is and what he can bring to the team. And so I think another beauty to the signing as well with OBJ is he doesn't have to be like the bell cow receiver who's going to get over 100 receptions, over 150 targets throughout the season. With how much they run the ball, he doesn't need to play every single day.
So that's exactly what I was going to say now. How open does this make lanes for Lamar Jackson in this running game now? Because they lost Ben Powers. They lost who's the other guy?
Josh Oliver.
Yeah, Josh Oliver.
But I don't think that's as big of a loss, because who was the guy, Isaiah Likely as well? He is now like their backup tight end, so to say, but he can line up in the slot-esque,
But so like that concern of not having maybe the best offensive lineman in front of Lamar Jackson, I think, is lifted even more than it already was, because he's already so elusive. But you cannot play cover zero against this team and bring 6 guys, 7 guys. You'll get beat just about every time. So I really like that addition. Let's kind of shift over into what we think that they should do in the draft. And for me, this, I think, is a roster that is on Bijan Robinson alert. And I think you look at where they're picking at 22, they're going to miss out on the first wave of tackles. And I think it's going to be too early. I also think Osiris Torrance might fall before them as well. And so I think they're going to miss out on the first wave of offensive linemen. And then they don't really have a ton of room for receivers. And there will be some defensive linemen on the board. But I still just think you throw all these weapons together, and then you put Bijan in the backfield, the best running back prospect we've seen since Saquon Barkley. It's like, okay, like that is terrifying.
It's I'm very curious, because like both J.K. Dobbins and, if I'm not mistaken, also Gus Edwards, right, have had some pretty rough leg injuries.
Yeah, they've all the running backs basically for Baltimore have had injuries.
So it is very interesting and appealing, and it's like I just think those injuries could be very severe, and they come back for them. I know J.K. Dobbins came back a little bit, but can he be the guy that can take him? That can take the Ravens, to be that running back for them that makes defenses like come forward on a play action pass. They can burn these guys deep. While with Bijan Robinson, exactly like to your point, he not only can he do all that, then he's a 3-down back. He could be on the field the entire game. You can just feed him, and then he just fits in so well with what you're trying to build around. And him and Lamar Jackson in the backfield would be absolutely scary. So I could see that. To me, I would say I was going to say that you go receiver here for sure, but really, honestly, and this is just the minute of making this video, but just me thinking this is probably going to be prime defensive line area that kind of second wave of defensive lineman I think could be there. Nolan Smith might be there, Miles Murphy, Brian Breezy. There's other guys. Lucas Van Ness I think could also be here as well. Mm-hmm. And so I also could see them maybe going that route as well. But if we're going based off pure best player available, best overall talent, Bijan definitely has to be thrown into that conversation.
No, I really like that fit, but I definitely understand if they want to bring in defensive lineman or an edge rusher and try to bolster up and regain some of what they lost. So I think that's going to wrap up the Baltimore Ravens offseason recap here. If you guys like what we said in this video, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you want to see the Ravens do in the 2023 NFL Draft. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.